Like, this is not just liberal Zionist crap, you know, where it's like, oh, you know, Israel and Palestine need to exist in, you know, they need to be nice to each other. He's making himself out to be a victim. Bro, you've got millions of pounds. You've got a nice, comfortable life. This is truly like white Western privilege. Just brace yourselves. I know we're in the like sort of silly section of the stream, but like I went onto Blue Sky and I just saw this fucking thing come up and it was like, oh man, I gotta mention this. I always knew that Radiohead were dickheads who always made apologies for performing in Israel under like the shit guise of everybody deserves art, and obviously were like completely, you know, either unaware or didn't care about the fact that the people they were providing art and music to were settler colonialists. But apparently Thom Yorke has actually made a statement today. For those who need to know, let me fill in the blanks. Some guy shouting at me from the dark last year when I was picking up a guitar to sing the final song alone in front of 9,000 people in Melbourne didn't really seem like the best moment to discuss the unfolding humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. Afterwards, I remained in shock that my supposed silence was somehow being taken as complicity. You've not been silent. Already lying. It's not that you've been silent, bro. It's that you've said stuff about this in the past. Somehow being taken as complicity, and I struggle to find an adequate way to respond to this and carry on with the rest of the shows on tour. That silence, my attempt to show respect for all those who are suffering and those who have died, and not to trivialize it in a few words, has allowed other opportunistic groups to use intimidation and defamation to fill in the blanks. Oh my god, why are you making this about you? This has had a heavy toll on my mental health. Oh my god, I don't care. Oh my god, this is so bad. This is already so bad. I would hope that for anyone who has ever listened to a note of the music of my band or the music I've created over the years, or looked at the artwork I've read or the lyrics, it would be self-evident that I could not possibly support any form of extremism or dehumanization of others. All I see in a lifetime's worth of work with my fellow musicians and artists is pushing against some things, pushing against such things, trying to create work that goes beyond what it means to be controlled, coerced, threatened to suffer, to be intimidated, and instead encourage critical thinking beyond borders, the commonality of love and experience-free expression. Sounds naff but true. No, bro, this is just like not it. Let me fill in the blanks. I think Netanyahu and his crew of extremists are totally out of control and need to be stopped, and the international community should put all the pressure on them to cease. The excuse of self-defense has long since worn thin, has been replaced by transparent desire to take control of Gaza and the West Bank permanently. I believe this ultra-nationalist administration has hidden itself behind a terrified and grieving people who use them to deflect any criticism, using that fear and grief to further their ultra-nationalist agenda, with terrible consequences, as we see now with the horrific blockade of Gaza. I love that, like, it's like he just won't say fascist. It's just like, yeah, ultra-nationalist. Come on, man. While our lives tick along as normal, these endless thousands of innocent human souls are still being expelled from the earth for what? At the same time, the unquestioning Free Palestine refrain that surrounds us all does not answer the simple question of why the hostages... Oh my god. Oh my god. This fucking loser. I can't believe. You know, there's some bands that I used to love as a kid. Marilyn Manson, Radiohead. I adored them. Chat. I can't begin to tell you. Yeah? I fucking loved Radiohead. I loved Marilyn Manson. And I'm not saying that Thom Yorke is a, you know, a rapist bio like fucking Marilyn Manson. But, you know, there comes to a point where you have been asked about your opinion on a thing, you've been asked to use your platform to denounce a thing, and immediately, you know, in the like, what are we on, page 4 of like an 8-page thing, in like the 7th paragraph, mini paragraph, they're not even like normal size paragraphs, it's like, why have the hostages not been returned? I don't know, dude, get your head out your ass. Why did Hamas choose the truly horrific acts of October the 7th? Well, A, they didn't, but B, even if they did, these are a fucking, like, oppressed, colonized, Warsaw ghetto people. Come on, man. Hamas chooses too to hide behind the suffering of its people in an equally cynical fashion for their own purposes. Bro, fuck off. I also think there's a further and extremely important point to make. Social media... nah. He's not going this way. This is like when I saw the UFO. My brain is like... You can't watch this. You can't look at this, dude. Don't look at it. It's not real. Social media witch hunts, nothing new. On either side, pressurizing artists and whoever they feel like that week to make statements, etc. do very little except heighten the tension, fear and oversimplification of what are complex problems that merit— oh my god, I can't believe this. Complex problems that merit proper face-to-face debate by people who genuinely wish the killing to stop and an understanding to be found. We've done all that. We've been doing all that. We've been doing all that, dude. We've been doing all that for such a long time. Not even just like 19 months, but like even before. Yeah, at least we still got Massive Attack and Kneecap and all that stuff. I know. But it's just like so disappointing. So disappointing. Like he is doing the Israel thing. Like, how much did Israel get to Radiohead back in the day? Like, what's going on? Like, how much did they get to fucking Thom Yorke? Every single, like, artist who is, like, you know, signed— there's been tons, there've been thousands of artists who've denounced this shit. Very, very simply, they've looked at it, they've gone, yeah, like, this is not just liberal Zionist crap, you know, where it's like, oh, you know, Israel and Palestine need to exist in, you know, they need to be nice to each other. It's like, no. One side is a fucking aggressor, man. Come on. This isn't just that. This is like, he's making himself out to be a victim. Bro, you've got millions of pounds. You've got a nice, comfortable life. You've got all the time in the world to, like, research this shit, have a look at it, come to the right conclusion, and you're just out here being like, you know, deliberate polarization. It doesn't serve our fellow human beings and perpetuates a constant us and them mentality. No, it doesn't, bro. What are you talking about? This is truly, like, white Western privilege. Like, this war does not affect Thom Yorke at all. This genocide, you know, all the things that he's talking about, they don't affect him in any way whatsoever. And he's chosen to be the villain. He's chosen to be the villain. He's chosen to yell at people who are asking him to, like, really think about what he's talking about. Sympathize completely with the desire to do something when we're witnessing such horrific suffering on devices every day. It completely makes sense. Now I think it's a dangerous illusion to believe reposting or 1 or 2 line messages are meaningful, especially if it's to condemn your fellow human beings. Bro, I swear to God, man, no one is saying that Zios aren't human beings. We're just saying that they're bad ones. It's really, like, obvious, dude. Come on, man. It's shouting from the darkness. It's not looking people in the eye when you speak. It's making dangerous assumptions. It's not debate and critical thinking. Dude, fuck this guy. We need to turn back from what? Like, just not say anything? This is beyond the pale. What's the response to this? Oh, of course, he's muted the replies. Losers shit. Holy shit. I don't think I could have been more disappointed. What a coward. What a fucking coward. Oh my god. Ugh. He's like, why haven't the hostages been returned? If he'd have done a second of research, he would know that the reason that Hamas, and not just Hamas, you know, Hamas bad, like Al-Qassam, all the other organizations that make up the Al-Qassam brigades, like, doesn't even know that the resistance is more than just Hamas. It's a bunch of different organizations that have been in Gaza for years, decades, almost a century, is because of the thousands of Palestinians who were detained without reason, without charge, for endless amounts of time. Tortured, experimented on, you know, in depraved ways. Absolutely horrific. Like, once you reach, like, a certain class in terms of, like, your income, unless you have, like, extremely solid moral ideological scruples, you are just gonna become a horrible, nasty person who doesn't care about anyone but yourself. Like, that, it just appears to be that. That's every single experience I've had of someone, even people who were working class previously, and they, you know, became CEOs, exploited people, got millions of fucking pounds, you know, they just become selfish as fuck. And you know what? Arguably, the reason that they got there is because they were selfish as fuck. Hamas have tried getting a ceasefire deal over 30 times, denied every fucking time because Israel wouldn't accept the terms to stop Bobby Dunn invading Gaza. Yeah, exactly. All he does is hang out with other rich people, including his guitarist and his guitarist's wife. His guitarist's wife is Israeli. That's it. Now, some of you will remember on Friday, I was watching some cool UFO mystery stuff. Well, we were watching it together, weren't we? We had a fun time watching that content. And we were rudely interrupted by Thom Yorke's horrific Zionist apologist, both siding a genocide, wet lettuce, sack of shit statement that people have asked him for the last 2 years, 20 months into a genocide, say something, and apparently he just references one person who screamed it at a show, and he was like, oh, my mental health, meh. Let's take a look at some other more based artists saying some stuff out here. We got Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam on Israel here.
I swear to fucking God, there's some people out there who are looking for a reason to kill. They're looking for a reason to go across borders and take over land that doesn't belong to them, and they should get the fuck out, mind their own fucking business. We don't want to give them our money. They don't get our taxes to drop bombs on children. No! No more! No!
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, dog. I've always loved Pearl Jam. Yeah, it's good. It's good that, you know, a band that I loved when I was a kid is still pretty based. So yeah, that's pretty good. Let's also hear from Roger Waters here. Here he is talking to Abby Martin. Abby Martin, who has constantly called out Israel's genocidal apartheid behavior over the course of her career. Here she is in an interview with Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, talking specifically about Thom Yorke. Now, I know that people love to be like, Roger Waters, he's an old wacko, he's a kook, you shouldn't listen to him. Listen, man, if you do as much LSD as this guy, you're gonna be a bit weird. Yeah. If you break on through to the other side as much as this guy, you're gonna have a funny way of acting. So I don't care what people say about Roger Waters. You know, he's pretty based as far as I'm concerned. I haven't really heard him say anything gross about any minority or marginalized person. But let's hear his take on Thom Yorke.
A few years ago, when I wrote to Thom Yorke and made the case for observing the picket line and observing the cultural boycott and not going, when they were going to go a few years ago to go and play, which they did, and they went and played in television. And he sent me back a slightly snide kind of answer, you know, trying to be funny and clever and whatever. So I wrote a reply, but I showed it to somebody who knows it. And they said, don't send that. That'll go way over his head. And also, it'll upset him, because you're suggesting that it might be the wrong thing to do to cross the picket line, and that he's wrong and you're right about something. And there's no way. You need to put on kid gloves and blah, 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 blah. So I did. I wrote him a sort of email that went, I'm sorry if you thought I was being confrontational and blah, 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 blah. Right. And he wrote back and he said, normally people on the other side of an argument at least have the decency or the grace or the something to have a conversation. So then
what do you think is happening? So Roger Waters got advice from his friends who know Thom Yorke, who said you should water down this response and make it a little less, I don't know, on the nose. And he did. And Thom Yorke was still like, oh, on the other side of an argument, people normally try and have a little conversation about it.
I wrote him back and I said, Tom, we the people in BDS would love to have been trying to have a conversation with you for months. And so have I. And we would love to have a conversation at some time. So when you say that they won't have a conversation, that they just throw shit at you from far away, that is not true. It's a porky pie, my son. People have been trying to talk to you.
Kid, Pink Floyd, that's insult. It is a porky pie, my son.
And you will not speak to any of it. Anyway, the exchange goes on quite a long time.
Yeah.
But it just
how did it end?
That the guy's a complete prick. And he is, obviously. But I think he's damaged. He's very damaged, you know. He's obviously very, very deeply insecure. He's obviously thinks he's very bright, but he's not. So he can't listen to the voice of it. So he can't actually have a conversation. That's why he then did an interview with Rolling Stone where he accused me and Ken Loach, the great British film director, and Brian Eno of being cowards.
I don't know, actually, what Radiohead's sort of background is. I'm not sure, like everyone always thinks that when someone's from Oxford, it means that they're posh. It's not true. Oxford has a massive wealth disparity in terms of the students who go to the university, and even some of the students who go to the university are working class. I wouldn't say that everyone who goes to Oxford is upper class or you know, middle class or anything like that. There's lots of working class people who get those opportunities, definitely less so than the other classes, but you know what I'm trying to say. But Oxford itself has, you know, lots of working class people who live there. I would never denigrate anyone for being from Oxford particularly. And I would like to give Radiohead like the benefit of the doubt that they are not just from Oxford as in they went to university there. Like they are from Oxford as in originally. Oh, they could be middle class. I don't know. All I know is that they have been praised a lot for making very interesting, good, boundary-breaking, avant-garde music. Great, that's good stuff. It's good for the arts, etc. Especially when it's like a rock band, an indie band, and it's a little more accessible to the working class. But there just kind of comes a point where that stuff just doesn't really matter anymore if you're not going to understand the politics of the world and how that interacts with music in it. Thom Yorke thinks he's really clever and has based his entire ego on the people who think OK Computer is the best album of all time. Really big head about it all, and now thinks that he is right about everything, even when people are actively showing him how he's wrong. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It doesn't mean anything if you've made a great album. And, you know, to be clear, chat, I used to think that Radiohead made a lot of good albums. I liked pretty much every album of Radiohead's. I really thought that they were very, very good and didn't really have a bad word to say about them until In Rainbows came out, and I was loving In Rainbows, and I listened to it and into like the next few years and stuff. And then my partner who educated me about Palestine and apartheid and Israel and all that stuff, she said to me, yeah, Radiohead suck. And I went, what? And she told me all about it. I was devastated. And I didn't want to believe it for a long time, and I kept listening to Radiohead. But over the years, you know, her voice just kept echoing in my head. Every time I put one of the tunes on, they play in Tel Aviv, they play in the occupied territories, they play in settlements, Israeli settlements, and I was like, yeah, I can't listen to any of these. I think it only lasted for about 2 years or something.
For what?
I don't know. You'll have to look at the exchange.
Okay, now you have to send it to me.
It says BDS, and anybody who has anything to do with BDS is cowardly and shameful.
Oh, okay. See, this is amazing. I love when people twist and invert reality, because Johnny Greenwood, he's married to an Israeli artist. Yeah. Johnny Greenwood performed in Tel Aviv this year. You mentioned 2016 Radiohead performed. Johnny Greenwood issued this frankly bizarre statement back in June where he said it's unprogressive actually to support BDS, to actually urge artists to not work with each other. That's very unprogressive, Roger. And so no art is as important as stopping the death and suffering around us. How could it be? But doing nothing seems a worse option. So, Roger, what does he say in solution to doing nothing? He says silencing Israeli artists for being born Jewish in Israel doesn't seem like a way to reach an understanding between the two sides of this apparently endless conflict.
That's not what's going on. No one is saying that. What people are saying, like, again, it's this perceived way of thinking that when people say don't support music made by Zionists, they think that they're saying don't support people who were born in Israel. You could be born in Israel and you could go, damn, this shit sucks. I am out of here. Right? Which I know some people have done. You could then completely repent any kind of participation you had in the settler colonial project. You can't help where you're born. That's absolutely true. But if your parents are someone who moved to Israel, became settlers, etc., lots of people born in Israel are being put in prison on the regs for protesting their government. Absolutely. The minority of people in Israel who are being like, damn, this genocide sucks and I don't think we should be a settler colonial state, are constantly not just put in prison, but attacked in the street, harassed, even liberal Zionists who don't go the full 9 yards or whatever it's called, they don't go the full race and say, yo, this is a genocide, it's horrible. You know, they sort of like have these liberal platitudes where they make apologies for what's going on, but they are still against what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in the West Bank. Even they are assaulted in the street. Even they are attacked in the street. It is so... The Israeli government makes it impossible for anyone to even remotely be against what they do. And not just the Israeli government, but Israeli society as well.
Yeah, well, it's complete bullshit. There is no argument to be made. There is the oppressed and the oppressor. The oppressed are the indigenous people of Palestine. The oppressor are the settler colonial visitors from North America and North Europe. That's one thing, okay?
He's right.
They start murdering. The oppressors are murdering all the oppressed people so they can steal their furniture and their houses and their olive trees and their hills and their streams and their water and their land and their birthright. There is nothing difficult to understand. It is not a conflict. It is a genocide, Tom and Johnny, and you are supporting it. We must ban Israel from all international soccer at club level and international level. We must ban them from Eurovision. They should never have been in Eurovision anyway. Israel isn't in Europe. What is all that about? That's complete nonsense. But Israel must be banned.
He's popping off.
It has to be sent to Coventry. It is a rogue state, and it is a murderous, genocidal rogue state. This is nothing against Jews. I've got nothing against Judaism. I have nothing against Jewish people at all. I'm talking about the genocidal rogue state of Israel.
He is right. He is right. And, you know, Roger Waters has been popping off about this for decades. He is right. And it just needs to be said. The reason he's so mad is because we're all so mad. It's the same reason that we're all so mad that this is still going on. And it is escalated now to the point of full-blown, everybody can see it with their own eyes, constant killing, constant massacres. We're seeing it all the time, and someone's got to give.
That's what's so particularly egregious and offensive, I think, to anyone with a brain, Roger, to be told that it's actually unprogressive to support the cultural boycott of Israel, and that we're the idiots, right? We're the cowards, because what's really progressive and brave is just acting like, yeah, we could just work with Israelis and just pretend like, oh, this is just a seemingly endless conflict. Oh, they'll be fighting forever. But we should just join up, kumbaya, and let's all just hold hands and pretend like there's not an ethnic cleansing campaign. Let's pretend that Zionism is not fundamentally a genocidal ideology.
And next year, Johnny Greenwood, you and your Israeli wife can go and buy a seaside apartment in Gaza and live with the other settlers there. And good luck getting to sleep, you.
What did he call him? Did he say you fucking moron? I love how mad he got. That's great. What a legend. That we should make that an alert. So there we go. You know, some more based artists showing actually how easy it is. How genuinely easy it is to make the right statement. And these are not artists who are nobodies. These are not artists who are losing out on mad amounts of income for saying this stuff. We already saw the other week, Imagine Dragons raise the Palestinian flag. You know, these artists are still getting work. They're still having things happen. It doesn't hurt you as an artist in any way, shape, or form to stand up and say what is right. Yeah, you'll get pushback. Yeah, you might lose some shows. Yeah, you might lose some work. But overall, you're doing the right thing. And most of the work that you get will not change. Not at this stage. Anyway, not at this stage. I find it really... It's really interesting because the artists who have more to lose are the ones who are saying this more out loud. It's kind of like Thom Yorke has consistently got more and more record deals, millions of albums sold worldwide, sellout shows everywhere, maximizing his income by playing in horrific genocidal countries, etc. I wonder if his argument stands up, by the way. I wonder if his argument stands up for places like Africa. Because there are countries in Africa that are currently going through a genocide, and his whole argument is, oh, well, we should make art available to everybody. I wonder when the last time Radiohead played in Sudan was. When was the last time that Radiohead played in Congo, you know? When was the last time that that all happened? It's cool that these artists just, like, make shit up.